Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump seemingly has been able to hold off the small Kamala surge that we saw last night. We got some CNN polls. We got some maybe a little bit of dooming when it comes to the mail vote, the early vote in Pennsylvania. People worried about that when it comes to Trump. Obviously, women are going to vote more than men, but we need it to be towards at least, 45, 46% are men. And then hopefully Trump wins men by more than Harris wins women. But we will have to see on that. Either way, you can see Trump's at around 64 and a half. I think he was down to about 63, maybe even 62 and a half, but he's been able to make that up. So what is the big thing that we've seen here? Well, we've seen a few different polls in the state of Michigan in specific lean more so in Harris's direction. And that's why, and listen, this is just what the betting is. I said the betting is based off of the polls. That's why people are like, well, don't pay attention to the betting. It's just an extension of the polls. And so it's just kind of a different way to look at it. And I think a better way to look at it. But either way, I'm going to go through the entire gambit here. Wasn't there another poll that just updated? Well, the TIPP became tied. That's a tracking poll. It was Harris +1. Now it's tied. Trump is sitting plus a half point in terms of just the general popular vote. Obviously, that's amazing. What I will say is, as we reach the final weekend here, I'm not exactly sure if there will be more updates, but we are seeing a lot of these Trump polls at the bottom, meaning those would be the ones next in line for an update if it does happen. Like the Fox News poll. Wait, didn't Fox News just release their final poll? I feel like they did. I don't know if they released their general election poll, but like USA Today, although they had Harris +1, CNBC, we'll have to see. Wall Street Journal. I think Wall Street Journal, that was their final poll. CNN, it was definitely their final poll. I remember seeing that. Emerson, I'm not sure. They normally release one poll a week. But we might get some of these polls down here that have Trump up releasing new polls. And if they have Harris winning, that's going to be a problem because it's going to bring Trump down in terms of percent. When it comes to the ones that have Harris winning, there's only three. The Compost has been liberal this entire cycle. Reuters was, I think it was Harris +4. Now it's down to a Harris +1. I'm guessing that's their final poll. And then CBS News, Harris +1. It's whatever. The Atlas Intel, the Rasmussen, I believe that's Rasmussen's final poll. Atlas Intel, that's their final poll. It's really a Trump +2.5. But either way, listen, you'll take those numbers. But let's get to the two states that people are saying are a little bit of problem areas for Trump. You do have the Michigan polls, Harris sitting around plus a half point, and that is mainly due to these two polls right here that do have Harris. Wow, they took the one out of the aggregate. They took the Bloomberg out. Well, if Bloomberg releases a new poll in Michigan, get ready. Hope maybe Bloomberg won't, but the Quinnipiac +4, the +5, Washington Post +1. That's not a problem. Mitchell Research just released a poll that had Trump +1. Guys, Michigan is still very easily in play. You look at 2020, you look at 2016, the polling errors were ridiculous. This wouldn't even require a polling error. I mean, if Trump wins this by 2, that's still within the margin. So it's like, am I really worried about Michigan? The betting is going to switch because, oh, now Harris is winning. Like, you look at this, here's the visual representation. Trump being up by 1, now Harris is winning, so people are betting on Harris. Okay, that's fine, but that really doesn't change anything in terms of my opinion of the state. Even with the Harris, good polling with Quinnipiac and stuff, and maybe another Bloomberg poll if it gets released. The other problem state people are talking about, maybe Wisconsin. Harris sitting +0.2 now. It's basically only from the outlier CNN +6 poll. Wait, where was the Michigan CNN poll? Did they not have a CNN poll? I could have sworn Michigan had a CNN poll. I guess not. Was it just Pennsylvania? Or is it not? I don't know. But either way, it's that CNN poll, Harris +6. Marquette's been more liberal this entire cycle. +1 is nothing. Atlas going with a tie, insider advantage. I mean, this is a very, very close state. It's a very close state. I think Trump ends up winning Wisconsin by 1 to 1.5. It's not going to be a crazy polling or anything, but this state is basically tied right now with a CNN +6. Many of these polls Trump is winning. You have a Harris +1, and then the rest are tied. It's very, very close when it comes to Wisconsin. But this idea that she's surging, it's because of the CNN poll. That's why, in terms of those states. But also, I guess I'll just go through all of them right now just because we're getting updates constantly. North Carolina, I think, looks really good for Trump. People were worried about the Atlas Intel poll. Atlas has been more liberal on North Carolina than every other swing state throughout this entire cycle. I think they're off on it. To me, I think Trump wins this state. You've even got Bloomberg with a Trump +1. You've got Emerson Trump +2, Morris Trump +2, Rasmussen Trump +5. I think they're going to release a new North Carolina poll. I'd be pretty surprised if Rasmussen went with another +5. I'm guessing they bring it down to a +4. if they do another poll in North Carolina, but that's not going to really affect the average overall. Once Quinnipiac gets knocked off with a +3, if they release a new poll and it's a tie or something, you're going to see Trump go up in terms of the aggregate to like +1.5, +2. And I think Trump ends up winning North Carolina by around 2 to 2.5. We're looking at North Carolina and Georgia being called hopefully pretty early, especially Georgia. When you look at it, apparently they're counting their votes differently, and we've got amazing polls in Georgia. There's been no crazy update. We've got the gold standard poll with the Trump +4. I'm guessing Trump wins this state by around 3.5 based on history and based on where the polls are right now. So you've got Georgia, you've got North Carolina. Hopefully those states get called early. You've got what's going on in Pennsylvania. We'll see. Pennsylvania is obviously the big state. And all the Rust Belt states are big, but just in general, you've got Trump sitting +0.8. You've got a Fox News Trump +1. Quinnipiac, unupdated Trump +2. Very good poll. The past Quinnipiac poll, I think, was a Harris +2. If you look at the past Quinnipiac poll, Harris +2 to a Trump +2, that's a shift of 4 points. And so you still have Trump with this nice lead in Pennsylvania with all the time that was invested, the assassination attempt, everything. Some of these lower, like, Trafalgar might be releasing another poll, I would imagine. Rasmussen, I think, is going to release another final poll. This New York Times Siena, once it drops off, you're going to see Trump potentially go up if the new polls get released with Trump winning he'll be up by about 2 in terms of the aggregate once that New York Times poll gets whopped off. Bloomberg, I don't know if it'll get knocked off. We'll see if they'll do another poll, but they've got Harris +2. They've been liberal this entire cycle. So listen, I think Trump's in a very good position right now. There was a little bit of surge. People that we have to stop dooming whenever there's something that happens. This is just the election. Harris is up 2, Trump's down 2. This is what happens with betting. If you get positive numbers, if you get the rumors, oh, men are not going to the polls, men will be at the polls. They disproportionately go on election day. Women do more of the early voting. That's just the reality, guys. It's not me trying to cope. That's just what happens. And people, I mean, the amount of people that have asked me, like, what's going on in Pennsylvania? Why is the early voting so bad? The early voting is better than we could have ever expected. Their firewall is down to 380, 390K votes. Now, does that mean it's guaranteed Trump's going to win? No, it doesn't. It's impossible to say. It's early voting. I've never been a huge fan of looking at the early voting and basing predictions off of early voting. But this idea that, oh my God, no, they built up a massive firewall in Pennsylvania of 1.1 million in 2020. It's down. It's been basically slashed to 1/3 of what they previously had, 1.1 million to around 370, 380K. Most best case scenario, apparently, they're going to be at around 410, 420K. That's best case scenario. So it's been significantly slashed. And the idea is that obviously there's going to be a lot of Trump turnout on election day. I even did a poll yesterday. And listen, I mean, we're talking about people that are politically follow this stuff and they watch my videos. And obviously, we're going to be more into politics. There's still like, it's like 50-50 in terms of did you vote early or not. There are a lot of Trump supporters. And I say to people, you should vote early because it's easier. But there are a lot of Trump supporters that just say, screw it, I'm just going to vote on election day. When you talk about it's more accessible. If you don't want to do mail in, you might have to travel a little bit further to your polling place to do the in-person early voting. There's a number of reasons why it happens, but like this idea that, oh my God, if Trump is losing because nobody, does day of voting, there's still a ton of people that do day of voting, a ton. There's going to be a vast, obviously way more people that do day of voting than mail in. So these numbers, we need to calm down. You've got Wisconsin, you've got Michigan. These are very close states. Trump could very easily win both of them. Like you're looking at them right now. You've still got Trump with a slight lead in Wisconsin. It's basically a toss up. And you do have Harris with a slight lead in Michigan. So both of those states are pure toss-ups right now. Trump is still maintaining the 60% in Pennsylvania. Trump is sitting, I think Trump should be around 80% in Georgia at this point. I mean, it looks so good. North Carolina's around 72. Arizona's up to 76. It wouldn't surprise me if Arizona and Georgia got up to around 85% by election night. Those states are looking extremely good for Trump. I think Nevada's a little bit more of a wild card. But overall, Trump is down 2 points the past day. That's fine. It happens. It ebbs. It flows. There's no reason to get panicked over it. This is just part of the entire process. And when it comes to a potential state like New Hampshire, I know people are really talking about New Hampshire. It seems like they're zeroing in on New Hampshire or Virginia. I know Trump is going to be in New Mexico. I've been seeing new polls out of New Mexico. It's looking like a 5 or 6 point loss right now for Trump in New Mexico. Now, could he swing it with this rally in Albuquerque? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I would project probably a 5 to 6 point loss there. When you're talking about a Virginia, I think Trump gets it close. It's going to be competitive. I'm not sure he can get over the finish line with the Fairfax County people. I think it's probably going to be a 3 or 4 point victory for Harris. So the question is, when you talk about New Hampshire and you look at all the independents there, I've heard from people, a lot of the independents do not like Trump. We've seen some positive polling. We've seen some not so encouraging polling. there was I think a Harris +7, but there's also been Trump +1s. There's been Harris +2, +3. That's within the margin. You pick off New Hampshire, it becomes so much easier because you sweep the Sun Belt, the election's over. You don't need any of the Rust Belt. But I think Trump's going to win the Rust Belt, but I'm just saying it's going to be a lot easier if you're able to pick off a New Hampshire. And Trump, I believe, will be going to New Hampshire. We've got Rasmussen polls that have Harris up by 1 point. It's within the margin. So we will see what happens in New Hampshire. It's a state that there's a ton of independents. These people are not sold on Kamala. But right now I would still pick it. You can see at a certain point, I mean, this state actually became a pure toss up, obviously, when Trump was trending everywhere. And then Harris went to about a 90-10 advantage, and it's kind of ebbed and flowed. And we're seeing it, maybe with the rumors that Trump is going to be campaigning there, maybe get down to an 80-20, maybe by election night it's 75-25. Could I pull the trigger and predict New Hampshire to go to Trump? It's very tough to do that right now. You would need to see more polling. You would need to see, some energy, an energized base with that rally in New Hampshire, and also more of a narrative. So it's very hard to do it. But those are the other states we're looking at. But right now, let's not doom and gloom after, one bad poll from CNN. Trump did just go down point 0.3 there. But again, these are ebbs and flows. This is what it is, guys. It's going to happen. And again, I welcome this type of stuff. Liberals say, oh no, it's rigged because of the money. No, it's fine. I mean, it's going to go up and go down. But I'm just saying, in general, this is a good indicator. When you look at what somebody was telling me the stat 10 out of the last elections, the favorite going 10 out of the last elections, the favorite going into election night, according to the betting, has won. The only exception was 2016. So listen, you want to be the favorite. Trust me, guys, you want to be the favorite. Trump is the favorite everywhere. It's not just Polymarket. Polymarket is just the one that's easiest to look at. You can go to any sports book. Trump is the favorite everywhere. It's consensus. And hopefully he stays the favorite going into election. I want him to be the favorite. Now, if it's 50-50, that's whatever. We'll go in. But we want Trump to be the favorite going into election night. It's better. There's a much higher chance if Trump's the favorite. It's 10 of the last 11 elections. The favorite in terms of betting has won the election. So we want Trump to be the favorite. But these are just ebbs and flows. We'll deal with it. And I said there was going to be a correction, but this correction is mainly based off of the doom about the mail vote not really being there in terms of the early voting, along with some of these CNN polls and also just the Michigan polls in general getting very close, the Wisconsin polls getting very close. But it's not like these are states that, oh, now he's going to lose Michigan. I still don't think he's going to lose Michigan. I mean, oh my God, there's an outlier CNN poll. So what? There's 7 other polls that have Trump winning or it's tied. I mean, it is what it is. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.